Well, if you are sick of spending, this is going to make you sicker. A new study showing spending cuts are making people ill, literally. Depression, suicide, infectious diseases, all up because of austerity. Noel Nickbor says this will give governments yet another excuse to keep spending and never get to cutting. Sasha Burns and Rob Basso here as well. You think they're using this as an excuse?
Neil, this is over the top. I mean, this is absolutely silliness. I think that we are breeding a society that we're making people dependent on social programs. And I think just take a look at Greece. Look at the explosion for that when they stopped it. We are headed down the same path. And is it making people sick? Sure. You know, when your meal ticket is cut off or when you have, unless you are mentally or physically disabled, there is no reason for such dependencies. And I think that there is some validation when, you know, some of these programs go away, that people are depressed about it and so forth. But you know what? Such is life. When you do a business and it fails, there's depression involved. When you go through divorce, when you go through physical problems, you know, there is depression with it. But, you know, as far as making the government kowtow to this, I think that's over the top and extreme.
All right, so Sasha, as a Democratic strategist, you would pretty much agree, right?
Well, I would say what you're talking about in terms of the austerity of making people sicker is, for example, we're hearing about cancer patients being turned away from chemo because the hospitals can't afford chemo. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the recession causing 5 million more people to fall off of health insurance. And anytime there's a cut to access of care, that's not good for anybody. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for the taxpayer, because at the end of the day, taxpayers pay for every single American's health care because of Medicare. So when you cut their access up front and they come into Medicare sicker, that doesn't save us any money.
So what do we do when a lot of people were laid off in past recessions?
Yeah.
What did we do, or what do we do now?
What did we do?
Well, I think I think we had a different situation with more employers giving health care at that point, right, than we do now. So I think now with the unemployment, but with unemployment as it is, it's a whole different, we're in a different ballpark.
Well, Rob, to that point that the government is the backstop, and when you take away the backstop, you're going to have problems, and you're going to get sick people, and you're going to get these adjustments that both these ladies referred to. What do you think?
Well, here's the challenge. I don't think this is a Republican or Democratic issue. You look at the Government of Accountability Office, in 2011 made recommendations. Only 22% of those cuts have actually been made up until now. The money is there to be spent, but unfortunately we're spending it on all the wrong things, and that's making us sicker. Think about it. The Small Business Administration said that they won't be able to help 33,000 businesses. They're going to write 2,000 less loans for small business owners if this sequestration continues. That's going to make people more sick. Somebody did a study. As a matter of fact, Harvard University did this study in 2009, and they said that you're 50% more likely to get an illness after you're unemployed in the 18 months following. I mean, we have a real problem here in America. It's nearly an epidemic.
But my only issue with this, and I know I'm going to sound callous, you can give a number and a variety of reasons for not cutting because someone's going to get hurt, someone's oxygen is going to get gored, it's going to have deleterious effects. The sequestration thing with the flight controllers is the best example. There was some pain, some delays at airports. They wanted to rescind those furloughs, they did. We've heard of no comparable cuts to make up for them at the FAA. So my point is, if you bitch and scream enough, the cuts, even the minor ones, are uncut. And that worries me because we'll never get serious about cutting.
I mean, look, and it's all political posturing. When the media, when the customers and pilots, everybody is screaming that these furloughs, all this is going on, then you see President Obama reluctantly signing to where everything's okay.
But to be honest, Republicans do it too. In this environment, we can't afford to touch defense.
It's all about politics now.
I understand that, but then we'll never get around to cutting anything.
Well, but it's why the sequester doesn't make sense, because you're cutting everything instead of making sensitive or sensible.
But they couldn't do that. So this was their backup backbone.
Right, which wasn't supposed to happen, right?
Understood, but it was better than nothing, wasn't it?
Well, but we still have, you know, the Army getting these tanks that they don't want and don't need, right? At the same time,
we can go back and forth on this. I guess what understood, Rob. I guess what I'm saying is, we can come up with a million reasons why it's like the fat person who doesn't go on a diet because, well, it's Monday, or I'm not feeling well,
raining.
or it's raining, or Thanksgiving's coming up, it's only November, it comes sooner than you think. I've used them all. But the bottom line is that you're just turning your back on reality. And the reality is we are stuffed to the gourds with debt and doing squat about it.
This is a spending problem. This is not a social problem. I mean, Leon Panetta, the former defense secretary, said that there's $74 billion for things that they don't need or want over the next decade. And hey, listen, I believe in a strong military, but the simple fact of the matter is if we don't find ways to cut money, this is going to continue to go on and on
But
and on.
bottom line, we don't. So whether it's sequestration or this example, I'm not taking sides on this issue. The only side I see here is green and trying to spend less of it, and we don't. We can't.
Yeah. Oh, and you know, Bob said an interesting thing that we have an abundance of money. It's just that we're not using it wisely. I disagree totally with that, Bob. I'm very sorry.
That's okay.
But I think that we don't have an abundance of money. I think that we're just moving things from one department to the next. Look at the FAA, moving it from Department of Transportation. I mean, whatever. It's all on borrowed money. We're borrowing it from China. They sneeze the wrong way. We are out of luck.
And at the end of the day, along with all the other reasons politicians don't want to cut their interests, but the problem is that as much as Americans say they hate government, they don't, because they don't hate what it is that they get.
What it
So
gets
don't
for
cut
them.
my schools, don't cut my Medicare, don't cut my roads, don't cut my this.
The bottom line is if you want what you want, then you're going to have to raise taxes a lot because no one wants to cut anything.
There you have it.
There you have it.